Hi, it is Miriam Ingram, and I am going to be presenting my family stressors project today. Bear with me as I am a little sick right now, and I am trying to sound as good as I can. And if this is reversed, I apologize. This is the only setup I have found to work for me thus far, so I apologize. All right, let's get into it. All right, my presentation outline. So my first page is going to be about the stressor that happened, what that event was like, and I'm just going to talk a bit more about the basis of that. My family resources, what did we have available to us and the time to help, pretty much. Family coping strategies, how did we get through it, and what did we as a family do to get us through the hardship. Analyzing family's internal context. How did my family function throughout the stressor, and how did my family dynamic look through that time, and the outcomes of the family stressor and the biggest takeaways. So back in, I think about the 5th grade, might have been 6th grade, both of my parents are physical therapists, and they worked for Care Partners Physical Therapy Health, and just due to overstaffing, my mom had quit at this point, and my dad had just gotten let go after a couple years of working there. And we were not prepared for this. It was not a known thing that we knew was going to happen. It was just spontaneous, and it was what it was. Family resources. We ended up borrowing from savings account that my parents had built up while working the job, having a stable income. We also, my grandparents helped out a lot, and my aunts and uncles helped out with taking care of the family, food, and gas and that kind of stuff. But my grandparents did a lot, both sides, with money. Community programs, and church support. It wasn't much community programs, but a lot of church support. I remember our churches bringing us hot meals and asking for prayer requests and all the above. Emotional support from members in the immediate family, all going through the same thing, being able to help each other. This was a big one, as I feel like this is one that we reached for a lot with my family, because we're a pretty close, tight-knit family, because it's me, and then I have 2 older brothers, and then my parents. And I feel like we as a family, we connect on a bunch of levels. Obviously, we disconnect on quite a couple as well, because we're a family. Built-in family problem-solving skills. This kind of connects with what I was just saying, how I feel like we're such a close, tight-knit family, that those are probably the 2 that I think emotionally wise helped us the most. My family coping strategies. Like I was just kind of talking about, we maintained a good sense of self while going through this stressor, which it's easy to try to keep up with your family and try to get this stressor over with, but still remembering that you matter, you're who you are, your situation doesn't define you, and then all while being in family context as well. And the family choosing to turn to one another, what I just explained. A lot of praying. My family is religious. We are a Christian family, and we found getting together at night, having family time, and then we would pray after, was just a good way for us to all end on the same mindset and the same moral values as we went to bed, going into the next day. And then, that family time at the end of the day, what I just talked about. Sorry. Family internal context. My brother started doing some work for neighbors. So they would be home, but they weren't essentially home, but they did that to bring in some extra money for food and gas and, whatever else that money needed to go for. The family started gathering every night. I talked about that. Having to learn how to adapt to the new living conditions. That was a big one, because there was just a lot of fighting happening with everyone, because everyone was frustrated and tired, and there's a lot going on in that time. But learning how to take it out on the situation, not essentially the people involved in the situation, was a big one for my family. And this one was a big one for us, the family learning to turn to each other in this time and not external resources such as alcohol, drugs, other people, whatever that may look like. as alcohol abuse has been something in our past, not for this situation, but for prior situations, and there was none of that this situation, which I feel like is one of those things, and like our problem solving skills that we learned from a different situation that we were able to bring into this one. This helped temporarily, but it didn't help full term. If anything, made worse. And we learned that and didn't apply that to this new situation, which, you know, that was a different stressor in a different situation, but that was just a connection I made on how, you know, that has the family like learned solving skills was really beneficial for this situation. The outcomes of the family stressor, we dug into our family savings to help get through it. Grandparents helped, everything. And then my dad got an offer from a new job, got a new stable job. We had a good flow of income. We were able to build back on the savings that we had taken out, and I'm not fully aware if we paid back like grandparents stuff. I don't think they let us. I think we tried, but they wouldn't. However, we did end up getting a new, and he hopped around from job to job, but he was never left jobless since then, knock on wood. Major takeaways, your circumstances don't determine your outcome. This is a quote that I love a lot, that I just carry with me throughout life a lot, and I just think in these kind of situations it's really prominent to your situation and what you're dealing with, because though it's a hard situation, it doesn't define your family, it doesn't define who you are, it doesn't define, you know, your worth, you know, in, you know, handling with my dad, you know, the self-worth of, you know, I have a whole family to support and I just lost my job. You know, your circumstances don't determine how good of a PT you are, which oddly enough, he just won PT in the state. But anyways, mindset is everything. A positive mindset and going through these stressors thinking we got it, you know, we can do it as a family and not individually, but like together we can. I feel like that was really beneficial for us, as we were able to move on thinking like, oh, like we got this, like we have each other, like we're gonna get through it. When you feel farthest from each other is when you needed to be closest. That was a big one. I remember my oldest brother kind of became distant because our age gaps are a little weird. I'm 20, the middle is 25, and the oldest is 27. And I remember my oldest brother just becoming very distant in the situation when everything happened, because he didn't know how to cope with it and what to do. He also has mild autism, so in the middle of these situations where he's understanding what's going on, he's trying to understand how to cope with it, not just, you know, cope and move on. It's a longer process for him. But, you know, when you're feeling like you're pulling away, you need to notice that and cognitively be like, okay, I need this, and give yourself that. And it always gets better. There's always something positive that comes out from it. And yeah, that's my presentation. I will turn in all my paperwork, and thank you so much.